was driving the car and stealing glass toward his wife, who was lost in deep thought. Her eyes were teary and she was looking outside the window. Wine, he tried to interrupt the conversation, but she ignored, again making him sign in a defeat. Wine, he called her once again, but received silence in response. Tears sailing down from her eyes, making it way down from her cheek, and he put it an instant brake and turned toward his wife. Wine, look at me, he ordered, and make her face him forcefully. His eyes softened seeing her crying, and he quickly took her in warm hug. He kissed her back and hair, trying to make her normal, but she was far away from being normal. She held her shirt tightly. He screamed and started crying, making his heart pause for a few seconds before getting back in their rhythm. He stopped crying. He whispered in her ear and continued caressing her hair, and she kept crying. "I am sorry," she sobbed in his chest, and he pulled her apart and stared straight in her eyes. "Why are you sorry?" he asked, raising his brow. Her hiccups before speaking. "You told me that you don't want to marry me, but still I said yes for our marriage." A frown made its way on his face as he stared her confusedly. He wanted to ask from her that from where it came all of a sudden, but decided to keep mum and listen her. "From the first time I entered in your life, I destroyed piece of your life. I snatched away the little family you had. I stay with you against your will, and today drama is also happened because of me. I am responsible for all this. You don't even love me," she sobbed, and made her get rid from her seat belt and pull her in his lap, making her sadden him. He wiped her away her tear and nodded negatively. He made her look straight in his eyes. "I agree, I didn't want to marry you, but if I knew it before that you were my this, I would have begged you to marry me." He kissed her left eyes, and Wine stared him with a tear and sobbed lightly. "You are the reason which make me take a stand in front of them. I used to bow and I was understand their favor and used to think that my parents are responsible for everything. You made me think that they are bad, not my late parents." He picked her forehead and she closed her eyes. "You are not the reason of today's drama, wife. It's all their fault, and today I will show you how much I love you," he whispered and took her red lip passionate kiss, and Wine stood with her eyes closed and hands around his neck. He pressed her back, making her lay on steering wheel, and kissed open area her neck before the horn of their car rang loudly, making them realize the place they were. He controlled himself and pulled she back, but instead of going back in passenger seat, she hugged him tightly, and he tied the seat belt around them and started driving slowly. Once they reached inside the gate, he parked his car on side and opened his side of the door, picked her in his arm, and headed inside their small home. Her eyes were closed and she placed her head on his chest, making him smile. He directly made his way inside their room and placed her on bed. Before hurrying her, he kissed her forehead, followed by her eyes, cheek, and lips. They once again lost themselves in passionate kiss, and he looked toward her for approval, and she nodded shyly with a smile on her lips. And the whole night they made love. He kept telling her that how much he loved her. Around 4 in the morning, they both were lying in each other's arms and staring each other's eyes. "I love you," her voice cracked as she was in tears because of the overwhelming feeling. Sun rays inside the room through curtains and fell straight on her face. She gone before hitting his chest and waking him up. Close the curtain, please, she mumbled, and get inside the blanket. Sleep, Moyen, he patted her head few seconds before falling back in slumber. They both hiding themselves inside the blanket of getting away from the sun rays. His phone ring disturbed their sleep. He reached for phone from one hand and gone when his hand catches air instead of phone. She, who was awake now and staring her innocent husband from the past few minutes, mumbled and reached for the phone. She picked the phone and passed to him to pick the call. Hello, he responds in his panty-dropping tone and took the hold of her palm. He brought her palm close to his lips and picked her knuckle, making her smile. He opened his eyes slightly and smiled, seeing her face, but as soon as her eyes traveled down to her body, he pouted, seeing her dress. No, I will not be in the office today, he smiled, looking towards she, who raised her brow in question way. He placed her hand in, tugged on her lips. She kissed his forehead and started playing with his hair. His eyes started dropping again. She smiled, seeing him falling back in the sleep. Postponed all the meetings, he panty-dropping voice, drawn in sweeted voice as he mumbled few more words before slinging in her chest. Feeling back in sleep, she placed his phone aside and showered a few kisses on his forehead, cheek and eyes before leaving him alone in the bed and headed toward the shower. After get ready, she went into kitchen to make breakfast. She was indrawn in her thought and suddenly two hands get wrapped around her waist and pick her up in his arm, making her squirrel. She protects, but he made her sit on the island and place his finger on her lips to silencing her. She raised her brow in confusion and he removed her apron and wore it, making her eyes wide. No, I can't do it, she pouted and was about to jump down from Iceland, but before that he held her on place and placed his lips on her, taking her by surprise. They shared a beautiful and passionate kiss, and she sighed in pleasure, wrapped her both arms around him. I know you can, my little love. He picked her lips once again, but I want to do it. He kissed her cheek and tried to toast bread and burn them. He tried to make coffee but ended up spilling water, milk, and passed an apologetic look to her, and she shrugged with a pout. Let's grab breakfast somewhere outside, he pouted, rubbing back of his neck, and she burst into laughter before pulling him to her and smooching his lips lovely. Oh, she kissed his forecheek and him blushing, making her laugh. Now you sit here, give me 5 minutes to clear this mess. And 5 minutes to make breakfast. She picked his cheeks and without a single word of protest, he made himself comfortable on Iceland. And she started cleaning his mess. She quickly toasted few breads for them and made 2 cups of coffee and served in the different mug. He stared her with a full of concentration and leaned toast bread and make coffee. He smiled happily when he saw her breakfast ready. It was fast, he complimented as she raised her imaginary collar before sitting beside him on Iceland. She passed him a mug of coffee and few bread. Soon they start munching bread and sipping coffee. The clock struck 2 at noon and she pouted, seeing her husband working. She sat on his leg side and continued to stare him. He too passed glares toward her, and time to time, with his heart melting, smile and focused on his work too. 20 more minutes passed away, and now she pouted more puppy-like. She placed her head on his thigh and half laid on his leg. Now one hand was playing with her hair, and his another hand was playing with keyboard of laptop. 10 more minutes passed. She started flowing. She slid little upward and placed her head on his chest and suddenly in his chest. He wrapped his one arm around her, attained his work. Now finally she had enough. She pouted sadly, stung in his neck. Without any word, he quickly closed his laptop and pushed his work away before wrapping both hands around her and hugging her tightly. One slipped out the content of her stomach and slumped down on floor. With the help of wall, the ground beneath her seemed to shake and get it more hard for her to keep her eye open anymore. Mr. Park phone rang as it's time. Taehyung dial number of his father-in-law. He was dying in worry past an hour. SYN wasn't picking his call and he himself is out of country for a deal. This time he doesn't get any response and frustration. His patients were flying in the thin air and it took him everything to not break his phone in 100 pieces. Finally, after good 20 minutes, Mr. Park called him back to greeted by his angry voice. Why the hell wasn't you picking the call, Dad? He shouted. Mr. Park was taken aback. He never talked to him or anyone in his family this way. Cool down and tell me what's wrong, Mr. Park asked calm tone and his breath for a calming himself down before speaking. Wine isn't picking call. I told her last night to go, Mr. Park mentioned. As I was coming London, but she denied. Now she isn't even picking my call. His voice cracked as worry was clear in his voice. Mr. Park took information, responding with I will check. And Dad, please give her a nice lesson for worrying me like this, said like a child, and Mr. Park smiled before heading out from his office and getting inside the car. He quickly drove toward Wine House. Wine, he called out his daughter but doesn't get any response. Bad thoughts start coming in his mind and he ran here from there to search room 2 but there wasn't any trace of her. He does not seem to understand where to search her anymore. The first thing which came in his mind is dial Taehyung number and on the first ring he picked the call like he was only waiting for the call. Dad, just teach her a good lesson, he said playfully. Mr. Park stammering the response. Breath struck in his throat. Many thoughts came in his mind. Dad insisted, but he shrugged them off. One is nowhere found. Even house was open, he said. Then fell on the bed with a thud. His mind went blank as he started sweating. Mr. Park's condition was not less. He too was looking like someone pulling life out from him. Silence prevailed in the environment only to broke by phone ring. Mr. Park quickly came out of his dress and ran toward the source of voice. His feet came hard in the front of bathroom. Without thinking once, he pushed the door open. When he yelled in a worry, snapping Taehyung out of his thought. Why and what's wrong? Mr. Park placed the phone inside the pocket and patted her cheek. Dad, what happened? Dad, is she fine? He asked, panting heavily but get muffled word in response. His worry reached at peak, and he was ordered his assistant to book ticket back to Korea. Mr. Park placed her inside the car and made her wear seatbelt. He quickly drove toward the hospital, and it took him 2 hours to reach there. His worry for his daughter was increasing in passing second, but he composed himself for his daughter. The car came in a halt in front of hospital, and in another 10 minutes was inside ward and examined by doctor. Mr. Park phone rang 9th time in the past 2 hours, and he picked the call only to get greeted by a voice of Taehyung, who was breathing heavily. Thank God, he muttered under his breath before pampering. Mr. Park questioned, where is Ryan? Is she okay? What happened with her? And why wasn't you picking my call, Dad? He asked in a signed breath. One is in the hospital. Doctor is examining her. I was bringing her hospital. That's why I didn't pick your call, Mr. Park replied. Dad, he whispered tightly as he himself was too much away from her. His mind was full of worry. Did get hurt? He asked. No, Taehyung, she is just unconscious, and you don't worry, I will manage everything. Do best for you meeting, and I believe you will be get the project too, he said loudly, and Taehyung nodded negatively. No, Dad, I am coming back now, he said, and Mr. Park signed. There is no point of coming. I am here, I will take care of her everything, and also it's matter for a few hours. You can come after finishing the meeting, he said, and his mind was full of it wine, but still he chose to attend this meeting. This one project can completely change their situation. The company will be reputed one in the market, and also then he and Ryan will get more time to spend with each other. It's my daughter, okay, doctor? Mr. Park asked as soon as doctor came out. Everything is fine, Mr. Park. She fell unconscious because of she isn't taking her meal properly, and it's not good for her and child, she said, and Mr. Park nodded, not really paying attention to the word child. Is she conscious now? Can I meet her? He asked. She's conscious and you can meet her after some time. Nurse are performing few tests on her, doctor said, and was about to leave, but Mr. Park was stopped her. That wasn't good for her, and he asked, and doctor smiled, seeing his confused expression. Her baby, she smiled, leaving a grin. Mr. Park Wine opened her eyes, feeling tight hold on her palm. The first person who came in her view was her husband. His face was pale and his head was placed on bed beside her. As he was facing toward her with the eyes closed, she raised her left hand to kiss his cheek. With a smile, she ruffled his hair lightly and stared him with a love. She took her round for her parents, and it was her second day in the hospital. Doctor told her rest because she is weak. Feeling her touch, Taehyung opened his eyes, which were full of love and worry. He made her way down from her eyes and sucked in a breath. When her eyes met with his, he forwarded his right hand toward her and held her cheek in palm, shifted his table close to her and placed a kiss on her forehead. You scared the shit out of me. His tear fell straight on her face, and she wiped her tear away before smiling and pulling his face close to. She bit his lips and responds without uttering a word. I am not going to leave you on your own ever again. He tried to sound disdain, but nothing came in that way. Instead of Stan sounded more sweet than before. And what the hell you are? Ate that cause of food poisoning? He asked with a big fawn on his face, and she shrugged into still keeping mum and stared him with a longing. It only been 2 days since she last saw him, but she felt like a year. She opened her both arms and shared with him her blue puppy eyes, all anger, wept, and he gladly went in her arms and hugged her back more tightly. I didn't do that purposely, she whispered in ear, and he tucked the Johnson between her shoulder and neck, making her moan. I missed you. Her tear made way down on her cheek. I missed you too, my little wife. He pulled her little away and picked her nose as well as her lip. Where is mom and dad? She asked, looking here and there for her parents. Mom and went back. They told me to bring you Park Mansion straight from hospital, he said, and placed his head on her chest. No matter how girlish it sounds, but around his wine he can't be the one he is now with other. She has a great effect on him, and he can't fake thing around her. He can't just start behaving all change with her. He loved to make her play with his hair. He loved to keep his head on her chest, listening her heartbeat. He loved when she teased him and called him innocent. He went his relation with his wine in that way only. Soon Wine got discharged from hospital and drove toward Park Mansion. She was staring him in all the time. Her eyes were full of tears, and she doesn't know why she is feeling like an emotional wreck. She tried to think about various things, but nothing was able to distract her. Stop the car, please, she whispered too much calmly, and without even asking anything, he stopped the car and turned toward her. In the next second, she was in his arm and kissing hell out of him. She doesn't even give him chance to respond as she held his face in her palm and kissed everywhere on his face. He was just kept staring her with a tear in her eyes. He bit his lower lip and controlled himself as she continued kissing him like a magnet. At last, she finally kissing him and hugged him too much tightly.